What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo. Before we get in this video, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support on this channel. You guys are amazing, man. There was a lot of people that showed up for that live stream last night for the giveaway, and I was just so thankful and just so humbled by it. I really do appreciate all the support from all of you. So I think it's needless to say that this character right here just isn't what she really should be. I really do feel like Netmarble should adjust her a little bit. I don't think she's really quite as good as she should be because, I mean, this is a Fest character after 3 years of playing this game that doesn't even have hyper armor. And I just think that is absolutely ridiculous that they didn't give this character hyper armor. They just gave her super armor. Right? I mean, she's got, CC with the stun on her second skill, and that is really, really nice. She's got the decreased damage received by 80%, which is very, very important, especially when you're playing her in the tower. But not having hyper armor, it really would have made a big difference if she would have had it. Now, in the Tekken Tower, even if you do have hyper armor, the characters can still go into their 3 PGs, they can still go into their supers, and they can still do massive damage to you because you don't have an immunity up, right? Hyper armor doesn't really prevent from taking damage during a 3 PG or during a 5 PG animation, but if you had hyper armor, whenever you're going through the mobs, it'd be a lot easier to, not take any damage, right? I mean, the decreased damage received is nice, but I really think at this point in time, it really isn't good enough for her. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do really, really awesome with this Nina. It doesn't mean that you can't do well in that Tekken Tower and get it done. And before this Tekken collaboration ends, I want to show you guys a no-hit, no-damage run against the Tier 50 in the Tekken Tower with Nina. You can absolutely go against it, not take any damage at all, at least against Jin. No problem. Now, against some mobs, you're probably going to take some damage, guys. You always want to make sure you have your decreased damage received by 80% up at all times, so you take as little damage as possible. But when it comes to the bosses, I mean, they will go into their supers, they will do their 3 PGs. So, having that 6 second of decreased damage received is really important. But because Nina, this version of Nina does have 3 seconds of stun on her second skill, you can use that as a form of CC. And the way that you really want to play her, guys, is you really just want to go 1, 2, double tap the 2, so that way you get the stun, and then hit the third skill. And the third skill, she does a little stomp. She steps on them. You don't want to let that skill play out. Because if you do, what happens a lot of time is that Jin or the boss that you're facing in the Tekken Towers will actually go into the 3 PGs immediately. Another tip that I can give whenever you're facing the Tekken Towers is no matter what character you're using, whenever you see the boss fighter that you're facing against in those towers, whenever you see them go into their super armor, you want to immediately go into your default or immediately go into your 3 PG animation. Because if their super armor is up, right, if they incorporate that, you're dead meat. They're going to do a lot of damage to you. And if you don't have this decreased damage received up for this version of Nina, you're dead. It's not like the other version of Nina, the EX version, where you can she's just like plowing through this thing, no problem. And yes, the Tekken set does help, but the time that I'm going to show you guys that I did this in, it is possible to do it without the Tekken set. However, against the other Tekken Towers where you actually have mobs, it takes more time to finish it. So you really want to always try to use your 3 PG as much as possible, use your default as much as possible, so that way you're always delaying the timer. That is very, very important. And, even though the Tekken Tower doesn't really need a whole lot of CP, I mean, it will for newer players, but for veterans, it's not really a whole lot. Even with 215,000, it's still very, very difficult. And like I said, when it comes to the other Tekken Tower, right, you're going to have Nina here. Most players, if they play Dream Match, should have an A3 Nina. They should have an A3 Nina. And if you have an A3 Nina in here, you're going to get those 3 stones. You should be able to complete this thing because at the top you only need 125,000 CP, and I believe that's pretty viable for the most part, especially if you have the Tekken set. It's definitely going to be viable but if you finish the Devil Jin boss and you got a bunch of nice option cards, if you pull for option cards, maybe you got lucky and got the critical damage card that adds an insane amount of CP. I mean, that's kind of the thing about the Tekken collab, is that all the card sets, the option cards and the Tekken set, just add an insane amount of CP. But I'm going to show you guys against Jin a no-hit, no-damage run with our girl Nina, right? And again, I do wish they would have done a little bit more for the character, but it is what it is. So this is how you have to play her, guys. So whenever you're facing Devil Jin, we won't take any damage at all through this entire run. what you want to do is use your CC to its fullest effect from your second skill. So I hit the second skill twice, I hit the third skill, and let's do a couple basics after the third skill. Just like I said earlier, you don't want to let that third skill play out. You don't want to give Jin or any boss in here the opportunity or chance to go into their super armor. And if they do go into their super armor, you want to use your default or your 3PG as fast as possible. As soon as you see them enter that thing, you want to use your default or your 3PG. And you won't have nothing to worry about. Right? Do a couple basics, guys, and then go into my 3PG. I'm not even allowing Jin to enter into his super armor. I'm not even allowing him to do it. Because if he does, just a brief second, guys, just a brief moment, he can do tremendous damage to you, especially to this version of Nina. You know, she's not like the EX version that has an insane decreased damage received by 99%. Right? She doesn't have that, right? She's got decreased damage received on the third skill for 6 seconds, but Jin, I mean, guys, he does a lot of damage, and a lot of these bosses, I mean, once you get like in the tier, I'd say tier 30 and above, tier 40 especially and above, this tower is extremely difficult, really the most difficult tower that we've ever faced. And because I'm not allowing Jin to do anything, right? And you saw me break the super armor right there. That's why you always go into those 3PGs, and those supers, whenever the super armor shows up from Jin, you constantly, guys, you want to make sure you break that. You want to make sure that you're going into these skills so he doesn't have a chance to do any damage to you, right? It's always 1, tap 2 twice, third skill, let third skill play just a little bit. And when there's about 2 seconds left on the first skill, go ahead and hit your default, right? Go ahead and hit your default and then go back into your first, second, third, and then, you know, go into your 3PG. It doesn't matter how much of a cooldown you have on your first skill when you go into your 3PG, because it's a very, very long animation. Whereas when you do the default, it's a very short default. It doesn't last very long. So you want to make sure you have about 2 seconds left on skill 1. See right there, I had 2 seconds left, right? And then I can go into my skills. Jin will still be laying on the ground when I hit that first skill, and that's exactly what you want. You don't want to give this guy a chance to attack you. You don't want to allow him to do any damage to you at all. And I'm putting this video up now because I realize there's a lot of people that are playing with Nina and they're having problems with her, because the truth is, guys, if you don't have that decreased damage received up on that third skill, she dies super fast. I mean, pretty much like against the Cronin boss, against Jin here, she can pretty much die almost instantly. It doesn't take much. Even with all the CP, even with an option card that gives extra HP, she can die really, really easy. It's, yeah, so you have to use her CC to the best of its effect, right? There we go, kind of veered off a little bit. There you see the super armor from Jin. I hit the default, we broke it, right? 3PG's up. And you saw Jin, he kind of swooshed over, he dodged over to the right. So we went straight into our 3PG. We do not want to allow this guy, I cannot stress this enough, you do not want to allow this guy to hit you. You do not, guys. The damage is just too much for Nina, man. She can't take it. Obviously, if you got the third skill up, you got that 6 seconds of decreased damage received by 80%, she can tank quite a bit. She really can. But I don't want to give Jin the opportunity at all. I don't want to give him to him, because if he does get the opportunity, one, the timer is going to go down even more, right? So it's going to take you longer to finish this fight, which is, you definitely don't want to do that, and you're going to be taking damage, which you don't want to do as well. And you guys can look at the time right now. I realize, but this is my free-to-play account, guys. This is my free-to-play account, and you know, I did get 215,000 CP with Nina, right? With the Tekken set, with the option cards, with having, you know, 4 Tekken stones on her. I was able to get that kind of CP on my free-to-play account, which doesn't have as developed codex as, say, my main account. But even if you guys have less CP than me, if you play her like this, you'll be able to get it done, guys. Like, we're going to finish this. Look, we got a minute 30 left. We have a minute 30 left. We haven't taken any damage at all. And this run only took me a few tries. Granted, I did practice a lot through all the other stages of the tower before I got to the point where I could do this. But this is how you have to play her, guys. And booyah, look at that. A minute 24, well, let's go ahead and let it play out. A minute 24 left, right? So if you don't have the CP requirement, I mean, you still should be able to do this, guys, as long as you play her properly, as long as you make sure that the bosses that you're fighting don't go into their 3PGs, don't go into their defaults, right? Because if they do, I mean, if you don't have that decreased damage received on her third skill up, you're pretty much done for. It's not a fun day, my friends. It's not a fun day. I believe I had 5 stones on her, if I remember correctly. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have 5 stones on her. I have 4 Tekken stones, and then I just got 1 regular attack. The bleed isn't doing nothing for her because she obviously doesn't have dot, and then of course the max capsules. And I really think, with less CP than this, I mean, obviously, guys, if you have 125,000 CP, around this ballpark, 150,000, something like that. You should be able to do this. Let me know down in the comments if you had less CP than 125 and you were able to do this. I think it'd been extremely difficult if you did do it. But if any of you are having any problems using Nina in here, and this is the only character you have available, because, I mean, a lot of people might not have Alyssa leveled up. They might not have SS memories to level her up. They might not have many memories of EX Warang. On this account, I didn't even pull for him. But on my main account, I only got him to A1, right? I only got him to A1 in 2 pities. So if you had that kind of abysmal luck and you just had Nina and you were played this game for a little while and you were able to level her up and take her to A5, right? Then hopefully this video will help you out as far as, getting to the top of the tower so you can get the maximum rewards out of there. So guys, hopefully this will help some of you out there as far as, doing the Tekken Tower with this version of Nina. And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GN2+7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See you, everybody.